gentlemen, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance by Zakiya and Jordan. Led by Zakiya and Jordan, I should say. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Next, we will have the singing of the national anthem by Kyra Crook.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets ran glare, their bombs bursting in air proof through the night that our flag, it was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Oh my, I hate to follow that. Thank you, Ms. Kyra Crook. Welcome this evening to the 6th Annual Legends and Legacies Awards ceremony. They changed the world. They helped the Allied forces win the war. They saved hundreds of thousands of lives. They started the civil rights movement. They make us proud. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ohio Tuskegee Airmen. My name is Demetrius Neely, and I am the Executive Director here at the King Arts Complex. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and the staff, we welcome you this evening. We honor past and present Ohio Tuskegee Airmen tonight. We are humbled, we are moved, we are tearful, we are honored to be honoring them. Joining me on the stage this evening are 5 of the 10 that we're honoring this evening. 5 could not make it, but 5 are here. And so we present to you, from to my right and to your left, Mr. Thomas Austin from Cleveland, Ohio. Mr. Robert Harvey from Dayton, Ohio. Mr. Paul Menefield from Columbus, Ohio. Mr. Hilton Carter from Columbus, Ohio. And Mr. Don Elder, the baby of the group, from Columbus, Ohio. Tonight we have a program packed with emotional things. We have a film that we're going to show you shortly.
The interesting common...
And it started without me. And what I want to say about it is it may make you smile, it may make you cry, it may make you laugh, but surely it will make you proud, because this evening we all are proud. We push our breasts out high like an angel because we're so proud of these great American heroes. With that, we can start the film.
My name is Javon Collins, and I'm the program director of the King Arts Complex. It is truly my pleasure and an honor to be a part of this historic event. The relationship between arts and the military has been well documented since the Asian, Persian, and Greek wars. Today, the relationship between artist and service member goes much deeper. All of the armed services contain artist occupations, from members of military bands to graphic artists to writers and photographers. As an African-American arts institution, the King Arts Complex recognizes the efforts that paved the way for its existence. I sometimes think about if there were no civil rights movement. There may not have been a leader like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What if Jacob Lawrence did not have the first solo exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in the 1940s? Without those efforts, this country would be a different place for African Americans. The young artist and the young leader realized that with a sense of freedom, we could all flourish, and we must obtain freedom in our country for future generations. The Tuskegee Airmen created an opportunity to dream and believe that there would be a brighter day for African Americans. These men exemplified bravery and resolve while facing racism and fascism at home and abroad. This is a true sign of innate strength. Without their efforts, my parents and I may not have had the opportunities that we have had. I am forever indebted to these men for paving the way for the King Arts Complex and for Javon Collins to become a graduate of The Ohio State University and a program director. Thank you, men. Thank you. I would like to bring to the stage a great man and a mentor. He is Dr. George Miller.
As Javon has given you my name, but I will also let you know that I'm a member of the planning committee for this event. I'm also a life member of the King Arts Complex. And I am a Tuskegee Airman wannabe. I realized that I was a wannabe when I went to see the premiere of the Red Tails. And after the movie was played, people started coming over to me and congratulating me and thanking me for their service. Although I'm about 15 years behind them, I guess it looked like I was one. And of course I did have one of the Tuskegee caps on. And the feeling I got then was how wonderful it was to be a Tuskegee Airman. And I just then wondered how great the real Tuskegee Airmen must be feeling, being who they are. My journey as a wannabe Tuskegee Airman started in Anniston, Alabama. When I was 15 years old, my childhood buddy and myself was a member of the Air Scout Squadron 308. It was a black squadron that was patterned after the Tuskegee experiment. And we learned the rudiments of flying, and as a result of it, most of the members of that group ended up with pilot's license either through the Tuskegee ROTC, through the Air Force, or through private flying. The couple of things that I want to bring to your attention tonight, of course, is the impact of the Tuskegee program on Columbus, Ohio. When you walk out of this building, you see two tall towers. They've been around for a while, and who can tell me the name of those towers? Sawyer Towers, named after Tuskegee Airman Harold Sawyer. Right up the street, there was a food market some years ago that was started by a young black man, and I think you can probably remember that was Singletary's Market. I believe it was his father, Lloyd Singletary, who was also one of the pilots. We had people like Harold Brown. Now, Harold Brown could not be here tonight, and he asked me to pass on his regrets. But Harold was my mentor. Harold was the vice president of CTI and would never accept the presidency. And in my opinion, he was the greatest influence in the building of Columbus Technical Institute and the now two-year College of Columbus State. We also had a young man, you'll see his picture circulated around in the gallery, as well as on the film. There was Robert Dietz, listed as William Dietz, and his picture shows the advertisement for the war bonds that they were selling back in that day. We also had a man named Alex Boudreau, who was I believe he was the first air traffic controller in the country, but former Tuskegee Airman. Donald Elder, who I knew for years, but I didn't realize that he was a Tuskegee Airman. I also knew Herndon Cummins. Dr. Earl Sherrod, which most of you know, and I believe some of his people here. And if you come down I-670 from Cassidy to Fifth Avenue, you'll see a sign over the side that says Colonel Wilbur Blount. He was on. Walter McCreary, we knew from his activities at the Y. Walter Kyle. And these names you will hear over and over, and we will certainly leave out some. One of the ones that I wanted to bring your attention to could not be here tonight, and his sister is here for his award, and that was John Lear out of Cincinnati. And one of the greatest things you would ever see would be a story on YouTube that has to do with an encounter of John and one of the pilots of the bombers that they escorted over Germany. So be sure to look at that. And there are of course names like Lewis Lynch and Frederick Knight, and a lot of these people were not necessarily from Columbus, but because Lockburn was their home base. A lot of them stayed here, raised their kids here, with their families all here, and made a great contribution to the city of Columbus. And one of the statements that I will make in reference to that is that we are because they were. We in Columbus are better off because of their service, because of their occupation here, and because of the contributions that they made. And while this is my story, I think that a number of you might have the same kind of stories, because with the large number of airmen, you see, you have to remember that the Tuskegee group was a black Air Force in and of itself. When they moved, everything moved. They had, as stated in the movie, they had mechanics, they had navigation people, doctors, nurses, a whole unit because of the existence of segregation in that time. So, you know, keep in mind that we are because they were. And with that, I would just say, fly red tail, fly high red tail. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the mayor of our great city, the Honorable Michael B. Coleman.
I'm so proud to be here and just to be on the same stage with these heroes, these national heroes. And I'm here just to say thank you. Thank you for your courage and thank you for your bravery. Not just for serving our country in the way you did. We're very proud of that and we want to honor you for that. But even more than that, to serve our country in the face of racism, to show courage in the face of discrimination. And we want to thank you for being pioneers, blazing the path for thousands of people that came after you. You led the way and we're so grateful for that. You know, a legend is someone or something with outstanding accomplishments and notoriety that is rare. And your work, being a Tuskegee Airman, what you did is absolutely incredible. You know, what you taught us, taught all Americans, especially black folks, you taught us that racism is not an excuse. That even with racism and discrimination that you were faced with from the very beginning, that the real question is how you dealt with it. And the way you dealt with it was that you became national heroes. And I'm proud just to know you. I'm proud that you are from the great city of Columbus. You're part of our city's legacy. You're legends, and we love you, and we respect you, and we honor you this evening. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Director of the Franklin County Job and Family Services, Anthony Troutman.
Well, I am so very proud to stand here because I too was a U.S. Air Force person. And so I stand on the shoulders of the great men that stand up here. And so I thank you for your service. I thank you for what you did for me so that I could join the Air Force myself. So thank you for what you did. The Tuskegee Airmen overcame segregation and with prejudice, with sheer determination and will, to become one of the most highly respected fighter groups in World War II. Their achievements helped to pave the way for full integration of the U.S. military. These brave men knew that by fighting for justice abroad, they could also advance justice at home. By preserving the promise of freedom and equality found in our Declaration, they could ultimately see it fulfilled. Thomas Austin, Sr. of East Cleveland. Thomas Austin served as an aircraft engineer and mechanic that trained at the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. He had assignments at a number of Army airfields, including Atterbury Army Airfield in Columbus, Indiana, during World War II, where B-25 bombers needed his mechanic skills. As a staff sergeant, Thomas Austin had experience on 9 different aircraft types. Please join me in congratulating Thomas Austin, Sr. And now we honor Charles I. Williams of Dayton. In 1941, Charles I. Williams enlisted in the segregated United States Army Air Corps and entered flight training at Tuskegee Army Airfield, where he became part of the famous Tuskegee experiment. He was part of the cadre of black officers who became the much decorated Tuskegee Airmen of the 99th, 100th, 301st, and 302nd Fighter Squadrons. Then Captain Williams went on to become the commanding officer, Colonel C.I. Williams of the 301st Fighter and 617th Bomber Squadrons during World War II. Please join me in a round of applause for Colonel Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Colonel Frank Jones, Commanding Officer of Rickenbacker Air Force Base.
Good evening. Gentlemen, I'm humbled. It's an honor and privilege to be here with you tonight. Harold Brown of Hilliard, Ohio, World War II fighter pilot and POW, captured after bailing out of his airplane after blowing up a train in Germany. General George S. Patton freed him from the camp where he was held as a POW. Harold Brown was assigned to the Tuskegee Airmen 332nd Fighter Group during World War II, flying escort missions, protecting bombers, flying bombing missions in Europe. Please give me a round of applause for Harold. Charles Feaster of Xenia, Ohio. Feaster was a technician flight engineer in the 99th Fighter Squadron. He attended Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University. When he had the opportunity to serve in North Africa, Ramatelli, Italy, northern and southern France, the Rhineland, and the Balkans. Missions were flown in a P-40, P-47, and P-51 aircraft. Please join me. Round of applause for Charles Feaster. Robert L. Harvey, Sr. of Dayton, Ohio. University scholarship student, took the Air Force physical to avoid being drafted and sent to the Navy. Drafted anyway, and was sent to Keesler Field for pre-cadet training and transfer to Tuskegee Primary Flight School as a fighter pilot. Harvey trained in everything from aeronautics, aircraft identification, meteorology, navigation, instrument, and formation flying. The war in Europe ended during Harvey's training in Tuskegee. Harvey graduated in the class of 45F, Tuskegee Army Airfield, as a pilot. Please join me in a round of applause.
Please welcome to the stage one of Midwest's best spoken word artists, Speak Williams, as he pays tribute to the Tuskegee Airmen.
All I want to do is fly. Feel the wind swimming beneath my feet. Soaring on clouds made of dreams, I too am American. What made you fly? What made you so brave? In the face of segregation, you soar high above the expectation. They said flight could not be accomplished with a black who is incompetent, trapped inside of a system where it was illegal to be you, to be who you were created to be, denied access to the skies you were created to see. And it wasn't right. And it wasn't fair. And men ought to have enough sense to know they cannot segregate air. For air is breath, colorless, limitless, and necessary. And when I look at you, I see men, real men, who weren't suffocated by racism, yet spoke back in your own way saying, you know, all I need is an opportunity. You fear the skies may remind me that I am free. But my freedom and my ability, they're already known to me. So I will ignore your dehumanizing remarks and taunts. Because even if you deny my access to fly, you can't stop my ascension. And my elevation will not be stopped. And I will not be denied until you are proven wrong. But instead of embracing you, they laughed at you. And I can't imagine what else you had to endure just so you could soar. And sure, perhaps maybe for some it was about flying planes, but for us, it was more like rising above the plane. A black whose expected occupation was shoe shining. You defy gravity and status quo by emerging as a pilot. Fighting the war on freedom abroad, yet the war on racism in America couldn't be won by dropping bombs Coming home expecting to be treated as equal, thinking you'll be hailed as heroes, but to your countrymen, still just a Negro. And they had not heard about your fight. And they didn't know about your flight. So tonight, it belongs to you. And we salute you, because there was a time where some people refused to. And we salute you to add to the many awards in the Congressional Medal of Honor, because there's more honor that is due. And we salute you because we still need red tails to escort us today, protecting us from enemy fire. Your story reminds us that even when someone tries to deny us, we can still go higher. And now I can tell my son, go forward towards your dreams in the spirit of the Tuskegee Airmen. There's red tails that await you to guide you to your destiny. You are the pilot of your soul. And he will emerge as a hero like you. And one day, somebody may just ask him, what made you decide to fly? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm round of applause for Councilman Herschel Craig.
Would you give that young man another rousing applause? William Shakespeare in his 12th Night said, some are born with greatness, then there are those that achieve greatness, and then finally there are those that are thrust into greatness. Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, the mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., said this, it must be borne in mind that the tragedy of life does not lie with not reaching your goals. The tragedy lies in not having your goals to reach. It is not a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled. It is a calamity not to have any dreams. It is not a disgrace to not have reached the stars. It is a disgrace to not have any stars to reach. And then he says this profound thing. It is not failure but low aim that is a sin. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt that you did not reach low. And we're so deeply honored to be with you tonight. God bless you, and we praise you tonight. I have the distinct privilege of saluting three Tuskegee Airmen. First is Hilton Carter Jr., Columbus, Ohio. Carter served as aircraft engineer and automotive equipment mechanic. He was assigned to the 332nd Air Fighter Group, Lockbourne Air Force Base in Columbus, Ohio. These duties were overseas and in the States. As a staff sergeant, he had many responsibilities. If you'll join me in saluting Mr. Hilton Carter Jr. Next is Paul Mitterfield of Columbus, Ohio, aircraft mechanic. He performed maintenance on the P-40 and the P-47 fighter aircraft while assigned to the 332nd Fighter Group, U.S. Army Air Corps at Lockbourne and Army Airfield in Columbus, Ohio during World War II. If you'll please join me in saluting Mr. Middlefield. And then Mr. Donald E. Elder, Columbus, Ohio. Elder served in the U.S. Army Air Corps at Lockbourne Airfield, a racially segregated post in Columbus, Ohio, under the command of then Colonel Benjamin O. Davis, Jr. He was also an aircraft and engine mechanic on the P-47 aircraft with the 99th Fighter Squadron and the 332nd Air Group. And I need to say this, I had the distinction of working with Mr. Elder in the Department of Youth Services, as he was our Director of HR. And he was a mentor to me. And I need to say it publicly how much I love him. And I appreciate all of your service and what you do for all of us. God bless you. If you'll please join with me in saluting. As I leave, I have certificates of recognition from Columbus City Council that I'm going to give to all of our Tuskegee Airmen, and then for those that are not here, we'll make sure that we get those. Thank you.
John Lear, Cincinnati, Ohio. I did a little bit of independent looking up research on Mr. Lear. You know, he loved airplanes as a child. He would go to Lunkin Airport to see planes. He had a badly damaged leg that sort of restricted his ability to go into the military, but he had to convince the Selective Service to reclassify him from 4F to 1A in order to allow him to participate in the military. You heard earlier about the bomber pilot that he met in the Cincinnati area, a person that he had escorted during World War II. And that is a very, very good story that we all should take a look at and remember that while there was a lot of disagreement and inability to get along, it's amazing what war and death, the possibility of death, can cause people to become lifelong friends and committed to each other. Mr. Lear graduated from Tuskegee Army Air Corps Flying School in July 1943 in class number 43G SE as a second lieutenant. He was assigned to the 332nd Fighter Group and flew many missions across Europe escorting bomber flights as a P-51 Red Tail fighter pilot. He left the military as a first lieutenant prior to returning as a first lieutenant, and then he returned home to Cincinnati. He worked there in the GE plant. He later became a stockbroker and worked at the New York Stock Exchange. and he finally retired as an administrator with Cincinnati Gas and Electric. Please join me in congratulating John Lear and his sister, Jean Barron. Just so we can take a photograph.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for King Arts Complex board member, Mr. Mark Hatcher.
My name is not Mark Hatcher. I'm better looking than he is. The next person I wanted to recognize is Roy Richardson from Bedford, Ohio. Roy Richardson joined the Army at the age of 17 and was immediately shipped to Texas for training, where he was an enlisted ground crewman. He was part of the original 332nd Fighter Group, 100th Squadron, and a commemorative Air Force Life member of the Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated. One thing about Roy that was significant is he traveled throughout Ohio teaching others about the Airmen's accomplishments. He was also a member of the 332nd at Lockbourne Air Force Base under the command of Lieutenant Colonel B.O. Davis, Jr. He is an accomplished musician, was a member of the 766th Army Band. He was born in Cleveland and learned to fly initially at the Horn Flying School, where he received his license later. Roy Richardson, I'm sorry. Roy Richardson. Thank you very much. This is John Lear's award.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm round of applause for King Arts Complex board member, Mark Hatcher.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I won't allow and defer to Judge Reese on his opinion about my looks, given that I am a member of the Ohio Bar, but I will let you be the judge. I am honored and humbled to be here this evening on the stage with these heroes. I grew up a wannabe Tuskegee Airman myself, with dreams of being an aviator, as I learned about the Tuskegee Airmen as an airman in the Junior ROTC Squadron at Henry Ford High School in Detroit, Michigan. So I know much about your history, your dedication, your perseverance, and am honored to be here this evening to recognize you. Thank you for your service. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and the staff of the King Arts Complex, I'm also here to recognize our sponsors who made this event possible this evening. And so if you'll bear with me, I want to recognize and acknowledge the sponsors of this wonderful event. Our diamond sponsors are American Electric Power, Value City Furniture, CheckSmart, Honda. Our gold sponsor is the Reinberger Foundation. Our silver sponsors are State Auto Insurance, Corner Cocosing, Crab Brown and James, Larry and Donna James, Smoot Construction, Loan Crane, the Crane Group. Our bronze sponsor, Baker Hostetler, the Columbus Regional Airport Authority, Columbus State Community College, and the Thanks Be to God Foundation. Our media sponsor is Bounce TV 23. Our hotel accommodations were provided by the Columbus Downtown Hilton, and we have special thanks to the Isabel Ridgeway Care Center, Continental Furniture, the Lincoln Theater, the City of Columbus, and last but not least, Mr. Larry James. Would you please join me in giving a round of applause for all of our sponsors? Before I take my seat, the executive director here knows about an initiative that I was a part of, and she asked me to just spend a quick moment and tell you about something that we did in honor of these gentlemen sitting before you. A little less than a year ago, when the Red Tails movie premiered here locally, I was a part of a group of about 25 African American professional men who decided to make a point and buy out one of the movie theaters for the premiere and invite our friends and family in a show of support not only of that film, but of the legacy that these gentlemen on this stage left behind. So that sort of initiative spawned into a number of other things that we came together collectively to do within the community, one of which being one of our members, Mr. John Jackson, an attorney here in town for the Nationwide Corporation, sponsored the entire school, the Columbus Preparatory School for Boys. He paid for the entire school to go see the Red Tails movie. And watching all of those young men file into that movie theater and have an opportunity to view history was quite moving. We've also come together to sponsor the robotics program at the St. Charles School here locally. And so as it relates to the legacy of excellence and perseverance that the Red Tails sort of exemplify, we have decided to form a foundation that will be called the Red Tails Society, that will be formed and function to support initiatives to support education for African American males here in Central Ohio. So on behalf of the soon-to-be formed Red Tails Society, we honor and thank you, gentlemen.
Please welcome back to the stage Ms. Kyra Crook with a special song in honor of the Tuskegee Airmen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the president of the Tuskegee Airmen Ohio Memorial Chapter, Ed Morris, and King Arts Complex Executive Director, Ms. Demetrius Neely.
So Ed, I changed my scarf because I believe I can fly. After Kyra sang, she gets me thinking I believe I can fly, so I thought I would change my scarf. we're going to close this evening, but I do want to recognize the fact that we received proclamations from the city, the county, the state, and the U.S. Congress. And at this time, I'd like to ask Pam and Ron to come to present the congressional proclamations from the U.S. Congress.
This past Saturday, I think we made history in the King Center, and we had 11 U.S. Congressmen and women, black, and on this stage. One of them was Marcia Fudge, and she could not be here today because she was in Washington. I represent Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. And to present these to all these young men today on the stage. And we credit you for all the work that you've done. We understand it. Got a homeboy from Dayton over there. Went to school with my father, so we're excited about this. But thank you very much on behalf of Marcia Fudge and Congressman Joyce Beatty.
Not quite that tall. I'm Pam Strickler with Congressman Steve Austria, and I just want to say thank you so much for what you have done. I remember the first time I heard about the Tuskegee Airmen. My husband's an Air Force pilot, retired, and I remember watching that and just crying with just horror at how you were treated. And I am so grateful that you persevered. Because of your sacrifice, we now have a military that's integrated, where we love each other, where we serve together, where without your sacrifice, we would not have what we have today. And I'd also like to say that as the wife of a pilot, what you did in protecting all those bombers, sacrificing yourselves, sacrificing your friends, or not sacrificing them, but they sacrificed their lives, and not losing one bomber. We are so proud and so humbled to be able to share in this. And from a personal standpoint, I honestly never thought I would have the privilege of even standing near one of you to say thank you. So on behalf of Congressman Austria, thank you so much for what you have lovingly, willingly sacrificed. And before I leave, if there were lights on, I'd ask all the military to stand, their wives and husbands to stand, their children to stand, their parents to stand, because it takes all of us to love them, to be proud of them, to say thank you for what they did so that we can do what we do.
I know many of you would like to have the job of being president of the Baltimore chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen to represent these young men. And to think that it did all the things that they talked about tonight. The old man in the group was 23 years old. They did all the things they accomplished between 18 and 23. And I, for one, am grateful for them. I'm a career airman myself. I served from 1956 to 1976, and I came in just in time when they smoothed everything over. So I didn't have to go through the things that they went through. But I'm grateful for what they did. The the things that they did at such a young age is just unbelievable when you start reading that history. They kind of chastised themselves because they lived mostly as a family, even though they were in the Air Force. When people got out of line, they knew it was going to hinder the purpose that they had. They put them back in line. Now, I think they call that something like a blanket party or something like that, but anyway, it seemed to work. So I'm honored to be the president of the Ohio chapter. And on behalf of the Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated, the Ohio Memorial Chapter, I want to thank everyone that was involved in this event for these guys because they so well earned it. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. We are going to close our program this evening, but we are going to continue it with a VIP reception in the auditorium, in the Barbara R. Nicholson Auditorium. These doors will be open. You can exit these doors or you can exit in the back. But before we close, enough's been said, a lot's been said this evening about these American heroes, but we just want to underscore how important they are to us. We have this taped. There are DVDs that are going to be available. We will give all of our airmen a copy of it, but if you want a copy of it, you can order them from us. We're going to ask them to stay so that we can take pictures afterwards. But with that, thank you for coming. Thank you for the attendance, and thank you for your attention. And we have a VIP reception planned with lots of wonderful food and drinks and music, and you will be able to chat with the airmen and get autographs. Thank you all. Good evening.